every single Shabbat is our holiest day. Every Shabbat we say a special blessing for the Philippines, for the government of the Philippines, for the president of the Philippines, in which we ask God to bless, to preserve, to guard, to help, to exalt, and raise very high the head of the government, the advisors in the Philippines. We're going to be saying now in our language, which is Hebrew. הנותן תשועה למלכים ושל הנסיכים, מלכות ומלכות כל עולמים, הפוצה את דוד עבדו מחרב רעה, הנותן בים דרך ובמים עזים נתיבה, הוא יברך וישמור וינשוא ויעזור וירומם וינשא למעלה למעלה את כל ראשי הממשלה ויועציהם. מלך מלכי המלכים ברחמיו ישמרם ויחיים מכל צרה ונזק יצילם. מלך מלכי המלכים ברחמיו ייתן בליבם ובלב כל יועציהם רחמנות לעשות טובה עמנו ועם כל ישראל אחינו בימיהם ובימינו תיוושע יהודה וישראל שכון לבטח ובא לציון גואל וכן יהי רצון ונאמר אמן.
Thank you, Rabbi. And now we'll have a message from the ambassador of the State of Israel, Ambassador Netanyahu.
Well, Ambassador Netanyahu, not yet, I mean, but I have, please sit it, please. I mean, that's, with Netanyahu, I maybe a competition with my Prime Minister. Mr. President, Rodrigo Roa Duterte, Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Yassai, very distinguished guest of the Cabinet of the Philippines, and my fellow Jewish community and countrymen. And this is really a very, very unique moment, a very moving and a very exciting moment for me to see the President of the Philippines in the synagogue coming to greet the community on such a very unique day, end of Rosh Hashanah, and Ben Kesel HaAsor, which is a unique chapter in our tradition, where we are actually doing our soul search and waiting for the judgment of God for all our action, deeds, wrong and right. Mr. President, the history of our two nations is intertwined long before we became two states. And this affinity and bondship is marked by two incredible events. The first one that is the story of rescue in the Philippines. That was in the mid-late 30s, when the world suffers the darkest days in its history, the rise and fall of Nazi Germany. This is the time where the Jewish people are victims for being Jewish, not for doing anything wrong. And they are looking for a place to hide and shelter. Most of those countries who consider themselves enlightened nations fell into darkness, and as a result, they basically suffered their biggest moral defeat. But of all places of the world, it was this Philippines that was struggling to become a state, that through a great leadership and good moral conviction of its president of the time, the first elected president, Manuel Quezon, who decided to open the gates of the Philippines to Jewish people, Jewish refugees. 1,300 of them reached the shores of the Philippines. Many others would have come if not for the war and if not for the politics of the time. But those 1,300s created generations, And you, Mr. President, more than anyone else, know this story and connected to the story. This is practically a great moral victory of the Philippines against the moral defeat of those who considered themselves enlightened nations in those days. The second chapter of our relationship starts with another Manuel Rojas, who was the only president, the only country, Philippines was the only country to vote for the creation of Israel. That makes it possible for me to stand here today as an ambassador. And these are indeed two unique pillars in our history which shaped and carved our future as nations and as people and as friends. And we always looked at these unique relationships under the banner of friends indeed, our friends indeed. And as a result, by the way, in 1969, the government of Israel decided to abolish visa requirement for the Philippines, since Philippines opened the gates of its country and also opened the hearts of the people to the Israeli and Jewish people. It is just a right thing to do to open the gates of Israel to Filipinos. Ever since then, we are indeed on a road of very healthy friendship and cooperation, and that was also shown during the Yolanda tragedy, where Israel was the first country to come to the Philippines with a major humanitarian operation. Israel is a country that is very involved in many aspects of Filipino life. That includes from agriculture, food security, and medicine, and whatever you can refer to as a bilateral relationships. And we definitely appreciate, Mr. President, you coming here today as a great sign of friendship to Israel and the Jewish people. Thank you for this honor.
Thank you, Ambassador. And now a message from the President of the Synagogue, Paul Rosenberg.
President Rodrigo Duterte, I'd like to thank you for honoring us with your presence this evening. On behalf of the Jewish community of the Philippines, I would like to extend our best wishes to President Rodrigo Duterte, members of the government, and the Filipino people for a healthy, happy, and prosperous new year ahead. I'd also like to mention that the Jewish community has been in Manila for over 100 years. During this time, throughout this entire time, we've only experienced the exceptional warmth and hospitality of the Filipino, and for this we are deeply appreciative. We hope that this will continue for many, many more years in the future. Thank you very much.
Now may we call on Secretary Prefecto Yasai Jr., Secretary of Foreign Affairs, to introduce our special guest.
My brothers and sisters in the faith, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
Thank you very much, and can you please sit down? Thank you for the courtesy. Secretary Yasai of my government, General Esperon rather, Secretary of is my National Security Advisor. Hiviben Matiao, it's pronounced if by Ben Matit Yao, the first ambassador to the Philippines, Rabbi Elijah Azaria, the Rabbi Elihu Azaria, that's how it's pronounced. Mr. Rosenberg, Mr. Lee Blumenthal, the Director of the Jewish Community in the Philippines, ladies and gentlemen. I came here with a prepared speech so that we can be together and meet to share the blessing of the day for the Rosh Hashanah. But more than that, I will not read my prepared speech. I would rather just deliver maybe what my presence here. Well, it was a compelling one. First, because I'd like to greet you on your holiday, and second, because I would like to apologize. And it comes from the heart. You know, I have been mayor of Davao City for the last 23 years. Then I was a congressman, a member of the assembly. Then also I was a vice mayor to my daughter. And before that, I was 10 years a prosecutor in court. You know, it's my character. And I'm easy to, that's what I am. I mean, I am I and you are you. And God created me to be in this way, I suppose. But one day, when I was coming home from Laos, I was a bit tired. We were on the plane. We arrived at 2 o'clock in the morning from the ASEAN summit. And part of the briefing was really that I was pictured by the media guys, especially those who are against me, on the political side, the other side of the fence, that I was portrayed and pictured as Hitler. And so, true to my character, actually, I am one who would never say, no, I am not that. I just would write on this and say, okay, I am a Hitler and I will murder these 3 million drug addicts. But in doing so, I mentioned the word Jewish. And that was what was terribly wrong. And for that, I apologize. But I am never... And as you can see, I am not one of the racist members of this republic. Be it the Moro tribe, the Muslim, or any other region, you have never heard me talk about race and religion. But it was only because that they pictured me to be killing so many persons, and because of the drug problem. And I would say that it is true. But not all were killed with their backs tied behind their backs. That would have been an exaggeration. When I was mayor, I realized of the drug severity in Davao City. And so I had to control the flow of drugs and control crime. Because whenever there are so many drugs, there are so many crimes. Because a user is always a pusher. And he pushes to another person to have, to contaminate another one, to spend for his behavior. And this victim will now look for another victim, and so on and so forth. And that is why conflagration of epidemic. And it was appalling. And I was very certain of what I was doing. In Davao, this is what I'd say that if you're a criminal, and your intelligence people would tell you this, if you are a criminal, if you are a drug lord, if you are for a kidnap or ransom, gun for hire, go out of the city, because I will kill you. Because I have to build the city, a habitable city, one that people will enjoy to live. And there are many Israelites there in Davao, and they can tell you that it's not only up to those threatening words. Because there is no law in my land which says that I cannot threaten criminals. And that's unaccepted in other countries. When you threaten criminals, enemies with death, because they pose a harm or danger against you, it's perfectly all right. But you know that issue, which is all garbage in the Davao City politics, and it was not